Sushi Night, an original short story by Jared I. McGee. I am a sucker for sushi. I am not, however, skilled in Japanese, so I end up calling all the various dishes by my own cutesy names that I come up with or by the animal that I'm mawing over and ingesting. I'm telling you, I love it all. Octopus? Yup. Sea urchin? Sure thing. That super expensive blowfish that's supposedly so dangerous to consume if it's not cut properly? Yes, indeed. I've had that particular bugger 4 times, much to the woe and chagrin of my wallet. The point is, I do love sushi. Now, what this means is that when I was out for my bi-monthly dinner date with my mother and sister to Sushi Night, our favorite sushi joint in Rothville, Tennessee, I didn't think twice about diving into a tray of the rawest, most delicious sushi I could get my hands on. Damn it if it was not the freshest fish you could get your hands on in a landlocked state that was far from a gourmand's paradise. And damn it if I did not think twice when, as I leapt into the rolls and sashimi, I got a little squirt or two from the juicier-than-normal catch from the chef's morning trawl. Where did he get this stuff, anyway? Anyway, this was not something new, of course. Hence my lack of reaction. I have a tendency to eat too fast, no matter what I'm grubbing down on. I think that habit comes from many, many years of intense training a la the Tennessee public school system. 25 minutes for lunch, not counting walking to and from the cafeteria, any necessary locker visits, and a line in the cafeteria itself. Yeah, that'll get you eating fast. That is, if you want to actually get anything down your throat and in your belly. For this fat kid turned quasi-athlete, that wasn't a question. So by God, I got pretty damn good at chowing down an army's worth of food in a very short time. So yeah, this is why I slop and slosh all over the place, even when I'm eating some moderately priced, but aimed at Tennessee's version of high-end, sushi. Fish juice right in my eye. I absent-mindedly wiped it away with the back of my right hand, took a sip of my too sweet, sweet tea, and kept on wolfing. My mom made some joke about me winking at the waitress. That was, maybe 15 minutes later. I gave her a sarcastic, "Ha ha, Mom, nice one," and moved toward finishing off what little was still available for eating. In total, we were only sitting down for roughly 45 minutes, and I am not the only fast eater in my family, and Sushi Night is fast-paced with their service. I'm thinking the chef's business model revolves around volume. But that's a digression. We all jostled over who would get the check, even though we know that Mom will always win. I mean, she always wins. We grew up dirt poor, but now we have a tiny bit more money than we once had, and she likes to ensure that she uses that lower middle class wealth, spoiling her kids. The compromise comes when I am allowed to pay for our post-dinner Starbucks, and my sister is allowed to pay for our post-dinner gelato. The former is a necessity for me, the unabashed caffeine addict, and the latter is a necessity for my sister, the unabashed ice cream addict, though she scolds me to never call gelato ice cream. "That's low class. It's different, Jeb," she always says. From beginning to end, from the time we left our house until after we got home still nursing our coffees and gelato, we were gone from the house maybe 2 hours. From Sushi Night to our house, it was shorter still, 85 minutes. Therefore, by the time I was washing my hands after having relieved myself from way too much culinary indulgence, my eye had been stewing in fish juice for just under 2 hours, give or take a minute or 20. As I washed my hands, scrubbing away with my mother's warm brown vanilla foaming hand soap that plays amazing grace when you push down to get the foam, I whistled along with the tune and looked up into my own eyes, and shit. My right eye was bright red. No, that's not right. The white of my eye was the color of blood, a deep, dark crimson in the middle, giving way to an incarnadine outer rim. My pupil was hazy, with a film over it. My unusually gold-brown eye with flecks of hazel was... well, it was black, but a part of me knew that black was the deepest of blood reds. The lid was covered in blisters right down to the tear duct. It looked like I had put on some bumpy pink eyeshadow above my right eye. The cheek below the eye was puffy and swollen. I tried to squeeze out a giggle. I kind of looked like I'd been punched in the eye, or at least that's what the people on TV looked like when they got punched in the eye. No matter. As an adjunct professor, I don't have any health care. I don't have any good health care, that is. So the next morning, I headed over to the urgent care place down by our local CVS. Over the course of an hour, I checked in, filled out forms, got weighed, and shit am I ever overweight. I thought I knew how much, but jeez. Got checked out by a nurse practitioner and was diagnosed with conjunctivitis. Ah yes, the dreaded pink eye. I zipped next door to the pharmacy and picked up my antibiotic gel that I was to put on and in my eye for the next 2 weeks. No contacts for me. I got to go full nerd with no respite for at least 14 days. That's cool. As my hair has thinned, glasses have come to look good on me for the simple fact that they take attention away from my wispy mane. In 15 minutes after getting my miracle gel, I was back in my apartment poking the aluminum tip of that medicine into the bottom portion of my eyelid, filling it with the medicine, creating a pocket as the instructions told me to. I also Q-tipped a healthy dose on the pustules on my eyelid. Fuck! This thing hurt. By sheer happenstance, all of this mess fell in the middle of my March break from my gig. Well, I guess I should be more hip and call it spring break, but the howling winds and driving sleet outside just didn't make it feel quite right to do so. The reason this matters is because it allowed me to sleep in such a way as would normally be impossible during any other time in my usual year. Believe it or not, this allowance translated into me sleeping for 16 straight hours uninterrupted. Yep, that's right. No sleeping pills, no melatonin, nothing. My body was telling me to sit down and chill out, and it took this opportunity to get the message across and get itself some much-needed respite from my usual never-say-stop lifestyle. I woke up after my long coma and stumbled to take a piss. Piss I did, and, again, as I washed my hands, I looked up into my eyes. Well, my eye. My left eye was still its usual color, size, presentation, you name it. My right eye, however, well, it was something else altogether. Everything but the pupil was dark crimson, almost to the point of being black, but there was also a strange iridescent blue sheen to it. The pupil, though, was the deepest, darkest void of black I had ever seen. In a human, anyway. The eye staring back at me would be more well-suited for an arachnid, or a fish, or an insect, or a cephalopod. Being the good millennial I am, I raced over to my computer and pulled up Google, tossing in cephalopod eye as my search. Being the good science fiction fan I am, my mind was coming up with innumerable possible means of my eye becoming something else. I forewent the reading of any articles or wiki pages on the creatures of the deep and went straight to the images tab. There, I saw small square after small square of eyes so eerily similar to my own, a wave of nausea hit me, doubling me over. I just barely scooted over to my small trash can by my desk before I retched up what little I had in my stomach from the night before. In that little black wire basket, atop a Twinkie wrapper and some crumpled up attempts at poetry, I saw a swirl of browns, a little rice, and some bits of flesh from last night's dinner. My brain began to make connections only a person who indulges their imaginative fancies could possibly ever make. Werewolf. Werebear. Werepig. Werefish? Weresquid? Too much D&D in my youth. Too many sword and sorcery novels. Some bad fish from Sutkina. There was no way this was happening. I fumbled back into the bathroom and lathered on more antibiotic gel than was necessary. That'd fix it. It had to. I wandered into my hall and opened my stand-alone medicine cabinet, took out my thermometer and checked my temp. No fever. I'd hoped that my odd thoughts and funky feeling could be attributed to a spike in my temperature, but damn, nothing. Just this little bit of effort had absolutely zapped me. I snagged a big glass of water, taking it straight from the sink instead of my Brita in my fridge, and headed back to bed. If I weren't out of it and zonked, my thoughts would have swirled and screamed and kept me awake. Despite my concern for my morphing eye, sleep took me quickly. So quickly that I couldn't even continue reading up on conjunctivitis on WebMD on the little tablet I'd brought along for some before-sleep reading. No dreams. Void. I woke in sweat and with an extreme pain in my mouth. On my mouth? I groggily reached for my water, spilling it all over the floor. Shit. I hastily disembarked from my bed and hopped over to my dirty clothes hamper, picking up a musty hoodie from a recent jog to do the job of soaking up the water from the floor. Yeah, it's the amazing life of a bachelor. My vision cleared a bit once I got my glasses on, and I headed to the bathroom. I walked into the dark room and took a deep breath. Turning the overhead light scared me a bit. The last time I saw my eye, it was terrifying, jarring. One more sucking in of air, steeling myself, screwing my courage to the sticking place, and click. The squid eye was still there, looking back at me with that unwavering, inhuman stare. It seemed to be moving around on its own. I felt my stomach threaten to rebel again. Then my jaw dropped. My lips had taken on a deeper red hue than normal, but that ruddiness was orange-tinged. They were almost scaly and were damn near hard as rocks. I ran my tongue over them. The tips in the middle were a bit pointy, almost sharp. As I drew my tongue back in, it slid across my teeth, which seemed to be loose, or looser than they should be. What the hell was happening? Was this some kind of epic universal joke on me? Was this some Kafkaesque black comedy, too played out to be any good? Yet again, after only the briefest of stints out of bed, I felt exhausted. I followed my steps from my last trip out of the bedroom, getting my water, going back to my room. Sleep didn't take me as quickly this time. My mind wandered. It wandered more toward Lovecraft than to Kafka. This whole thing seemed like a supernatural horror thriller. I went to bark a laugh at my thought, and it came out as a choked gurgle with a squeak or a squawk on the back end. The foreign noises crawling out of my maw are the last thing I heard as sleep pulled me down away from consciousness. Dreams of water, of endless blackness and never-ending surges, waxing, waning, pulling, tugging, of brief slivers of silver shooting by. A phone ringing woke me. Phone seemed like an odd concept. I reached over to my bedside table to answer. My hands didn't work like they should. My eyes didn't work like they should. My thoughts became more and more fuzzy. The last thing that did not seem alien to me was the glimpse of my vibrating screen, and Mom scrawled across it in a background picture. It held an image of my mother and me at Branson Landing in Missouri, right by a big carved statue of a bear, shaped from an old oak. We had our arms wrapped around one another. That was one amazing vacation. My vision glossed back over into something that didn't seem right to my brain. I suddenly had a pang of fear, not because of this unknown something that was happening to me, but because I realized that I might not see my mom again. If I were still capable of love or desire or anything, I would have burned with it, screamed, filtered through it. Instead, all of my thoughts were null, as sleep threatened to take me under yet again. Whatever this was, divine justice, bad luck, bad science fiction come to life. Whatever it was, it had me. I shed what I thought might have been a tear as I closed my eyes, wishing for sushi night with Mom and Sis, and gave in to this unholy slumber. Thank you for listening to Sushi Night, or Sushi Night. All three of the backing tracks for this story were taken from the Free Music Archive, and all three are by Blue Dot Sessions from their album Algae Fields. They are, in order of appearance, Algae Trio, Algae Tinder, Collecting Samples, and Aram. They are being used under Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial 4.0 International Licenses. Next up this week from Prose, A Sunrise.